Welcome back, everyone. I am the Depressed Eeyore, and this is Middara on Tabletop Simulator. Alright, so, not exactly sure what all I did last time as far as, builds are concerned, so I'll just kind of go over everything at this point. I kind of shuffled some gear around, definitely. At this point, Damocles is dual-wield guy with long-range, what's it called? Sinful Privilege with Blood Pact, so essentially focusing on doing one big hit that can't be dodged or countered. I think I did get. I don't know if I don't think I purchased anything. I think I just focused on skills and moving stuff around. I went ahead and swapped out. You may have noticed that my group's a little bit different. Swapping out Rook just for a change of pace. I mean, it's kind of hard to drop Rook because Rook is usually in most people's groups. He's usually heavy tank with Sanctus usually. But I'm going to see if I can go okay without Font of Renewal. Font of Renewal is really good because it can make up for mistakes and help you recover prior to ending an encounter. But if you're killing everything really, really fast, you don't exactly need it. So we'll see how that goes. I don't think there's really anything else to point out. Yeah, he's currently using the monocle. I think that's really the only thing to point out. Everything else is pretty standard stuff that he's usually been using. Finally bringing back Remy. She is carrying a Seed of Rebirth, which is going to give her a casting upgrade, which will be useful for DM when I use her. Or if I happen to use a Garius, that'll also help. Also, Seed of Rebirth allows you to revive people, so the Rook has the Revive Discipline. We at least have a Revive item with us. With all the health increasing stuff, she has 36 HP, which means her twins will have 18 each. And of course, I'm all focused in on the summoning stuff. And of course, some stuff that increases conviction. That way it can be shared between the group. I did go ahead and equip the Arcalan Halo onto Remy to maximize defense. So right now with the Halo and the third tier core, she's sitting at 13 defense, which means Femke and DM are at 14 defense. I could get them up to 15 defense if I swap the Brooch over there, because that's a tier 4 core, but I'm just going to wait. Besides that, it's mostly just utility stuff for equipment. Zeke here is now going to be using... We're going to get him off the smokes and get him on the chew. So now he has constant haste, so now he doesn't have to worry about hasting himself anymore. Everything else is pretty much support stuff. I did go fortune telling with Exalted Summoning, which I don't think I've shown off in this playthrough. It's definitely a build I messed around with when I was making builds specifically designed to take on Aisling. Of course, now Aisling's a little bit easier now that she's been nerfed, but still, it's a very good combination for bosses and just taking out nasty normal enemies. Other than that, he's just going to be buff support guy. Nothing really to point out there. He's also going to carry the dynamite. Everything else is just thrown items. Nightingale, I kind of went back and forth whether or not I was going to keep Brutal Slaughter. Usually I put Brutal Slaughter on melee characters. Usually multi-attack melee characters, dual wielding, all that good stuff. But I don't really need it. I don't have anyone built like that in this particular playthrough. And it'll probably make things interesting in the future because dual-wield multi-attacking builds tend to be the strongest, especially if you get courage on them. But Nightingale does attack plenty of times, so she can definitely benefit from Brutal Slaughter. She also doesn't have to worry so much about counterattacks since she attacks from range. I did drop her barbed arrows. I'm now just going to use black arrows and nothing else. I'm going to be able to do enough damage that usually the +6 is not going to be necessary. Everything else is pretty standard. I do have the wrist crossbow just in case. Everything else is I did give her the Badman Book of Baddies. I'll probably use Elfie just kind of as a support character. It was mainly just to make sure I have a way of removing debuffs, because obviously the way we got rid of debuffs before was with the Font of Renewal. So having Elfie around will definitely help with that. And Elfie will do pretty good as well. She'll be using the Cave Bow attack, and her Conviction will be pretty good. It's just her casting is going to be garbage. Besides that, we're going to go ahead and bring in Justice here. She has her new story discipline. Of course, last video we did maximize her. We didn't maximize her speed. We decided to go ahead and go with Yuxa to have additional abilities to heal herself and kind of go from there. Organic clothes, of course, maximizes her health. Let's see, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8. That brings up to 20, 29, 31. Yep, 31 HP. Okay, so that should be good. 15 movement. I did get some confirmation about Bring the Shadows. If you use Bring the Shadows and then you flip the book, it will cast it again on all the same targets. So it will hit multiple targets, which is kind of neat. Besides that, I think that's everything. I'm going to go ahead and... it's been a while since I've actually recorded a session besides the most recent update video with the story, the lore stuff, and the rules corrections. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just dive into my collection is huge, which is going to be Abraxis. I did actually post my thoughts about Abraxis in the Discord. Pretty much I requested a faster way to get through it because I don't enjoy the gameplay of it. Probably the biggest issue is not just its luck base. Like if it's gambling, that's fine. The problem is it's not fun. Like I'd rather it just be a skill check if it's going to be just a pure gambling thing. And as far as like a gameplay thing, like as far as like what actions you can do during Abraxis, you practically can't do very much. All you can really do is roll and hope you do okay. And if you roll bad multiple times in a row, like on all of your dice, there's no mechanics to really counter it. Some people in the Discord try to counter to say, hey, you can roll bad. If you roll that bad in the actual game, you're kind of screwed too. But mathematically, I could make a build where I do not miss attacks. Once we get to rare tier, it's guaranteed I can make a build that cannot miss. And it might not do the most damage, but it'll definitely not miss. And that's not even talking about all the other ways you can manipulate dice to make it so they don't miss, such as fortune telling or getting the multiple upon multiple rerolls you can get with intervention and other abilities. But Abraxis, you don't really have anything. In fact, you have no way of rerolling. Abraxis, your only ability is your fate points, which allow you to hold a die, which if you rolled all bad, fate points don't help you. So there's nothing to really work with that. I did give some recommendations about making characters have their own unique abilities, because there's definitely different quirks that in at least the narrative that Remy and Rook kind of show as far as how their gameplay styles. Also, just having more opportunities to use your skills would be a nice benefit as well. Anyway, with that, just go ahead and dive into this. I have done this before, but I scrapped the recording, not because I lost or anything like that. But I didn't. It was mainly because I didn't really fully understand what the next card it was, because it just didn't make. I wasn't sure the mechanics behind it. It was pretty unclear in my mind, but I've long since got confirmation, so we're gonna go ahead and dive into this. Also, I guess as far as future stuff, I did get confirmation a while back about line of sight and stuff like that. Red lines. Pretty much, if you intersect a red line, that is considered a block line of sight. Same thing if you intersect the base of a figure, that usually will count as intersecting as well. I believe originally I was doing it based on tile, so I'm going to be trying to switch over to that from now on. So I just wanted to say that ahead of time, just in case people have been keeping track of what I've been doing in the past. All right, but for this we shouldn't have to worry about it because it's Abraxis. It's nice to get a break, Rook said, throwing another fistful of dice. He winced as they settled. It was not what he'd been hoping for. He and Remy were gathered closely around a low table with Abraxis cards and dice scattered about. After surviving the ruins of Gehenna, Rook didn't even mind losing a few hands. It was just nice to do something mindless, something relaxing and safe. I guess. Remy glanced down at the roll, glowering at the dice. It's a good thing we don't do this badly when we're actually in danger. Someone approached from the nearby tents, though it wasn't Zeke or Nightingale, as he'd been expecting. It was one of the surviving anointed, carrying a rectangular box under one arm. Rook had seen the man lurking nearby and watching silently as they played. Like all the anointed, he wore dark robes over his armor, concealing most of his features. The man's hood was down, exposing a young face and a few nasty scars. Hey, the newcomer waved weakly, setting the box down on an empty part of the table. Name's Ezra. I've been meaning to say thank you. You guys really saved our asses back there. Ruxtra gathered his dice and put them back in their pouch. No problem. Hey, don't put those away. The man flipped the box open, revealing several sets of dice and hundreds of cards arranged and alphabetized in individual card sections. I'll join you. Ezra finished around in one of the top sections and then drew a single reflective card. Remy gasped, leaning across the table and moving to snatch it away. Hey, is that the three witches? Ezra was too quick, pulling it just out of reach. Sure is, he said with a grin. That's a tournament promo from Brahma, I think. I've never seen one in person. Ezra set the card in the center of the table. After what you did for us, it's yours. He fished something else out of his backpack then and set it on the table next to him. It was a pointed hat with a skull-like motif on the front. If you win, I'll give you the prize I earned from winning that tournament. No way. Remy put the hat on her head and grinned at Rook. This is the High Witch's hat. You have to qualify for regionals to even have a chance of getting one of these. Remy straightened her dice, lining them up in front of her with all the highest numbers facing up. We got this, right, Rook? Absolutely, Rook agreed. We fought a Lichworm and lived. This should be no problem. Lichworm was easier. Alright, so we're going to be going up against the three witches. I believe I mentioned this in the past, but if I hadn't, the rewards are cumulative now. So if you get 3 adventures, you also get 2 in 1. So we'll just kind of go from there. So with that, let's go ahead and get things set up. As always, we're going to have 10 health and 5 fate points. So I'm just going to use stamina and health to keep track of this. Alright, and then I'll make a copy. One mistake I did with Abraxis in previous sessions is I forgot to... I'm pretty sure... one thing I think was missing was I think there were cards missing. But the other thing was I don't think I took the wands out of this and added them in. But it is what it is. In any case, we're going to go ahead and... There's actually one thing I want to check, so I'll be right back. I keep forgetting, I actually have a physical book now. Wave 1 shipments have been ongoing, and I finally got mine. The box was 31 pounds. And UPS never knocks at my door, but I definitely heard the impact of the box hitting the floor when it arrived. So with this, I can actually just look it up. So what I just want to confirm is the... Yeah, it just says draw a different rare weapon. Okay. Speaking of Wave 1, Wave 1 also included a lot of the promo cards. As of me recording this, and probably for the future, they do not intend on including the promo cards in Tabletop Simulator's module. So that pretty much means you have to scan in your own cards. I have scanned in the promo cards. They are very poor quality, unfortunately. The scans, the cards themselves are actually pretty good. In any case, I do not plan on bringing the promo cards into a current playthrough. A new playthrough, I will definitely include them, but not a current one. I do plan on doing crawl mode in the future, and mainly to show off the promo cards, but also there's promo characters, as well as characters that get unlocked in story mode that can only be used in crawl mode. So I want to go ahead and I do eventually want to show off those characters and show what they can do and all that cool stuff. So if you are interested in seeing what the promo cards are, I'll eventually start a playthrough of crawl mode, possibly alongside me finishing up this playthrough. We'll see once I've finished with a few other things. Anyway, with all that said and done, let's go ahead and dive right into this. So yeah, we're going up against the three witches. Alright, so I was a little confused about how the three witches work. Each round, draw a different rare weapon and add its symbols. You must keep at least 1 die per turn. So this extra die you keep does not cost a fate point. So that's the thing I needed confirmation on. Now, the other thing to point out is 3 books and 1 shield is what 3 witches is. And there are combinations of rare cards with 3 witches that are impossible to complete. As in, you cannot perfectly match it. So you are guaranteed to at least lose 1 health in that particular playthrough. or that particular round. Usually it's in combination with some certain things such as like wands and staves that provide a lot more books. But yeah, it can be there are die combinations that you cannot you can't complete, which is a little frustrating. And if that's part of the gambling thing, all the more reason for me that I mean, some people are like, oh, well, you just need to mitigate the damage. And it's like, okay, if I roll bad, I can't mitigate the bad damage. Yeah, there were a few staunch defenders of Abraxis, which I guess, I mean, some people might like. That's why I didn't really suggest them changing the game that much. I just want them to give me a faster playstyle. Now, for some people that are like, oh, well, it's a side quest, you can skip it. Spoiler, there is a game of Abraxis that is forced upon you that you have to play. So, yeah, I can't. Even when I wanted to avoid this game, I couldn't. The playthrough where I completed the game, I avoided every Abraxis game for the most part. But then I found myself forced to do one. So, like I said, it was a lose-lose for me. Anyway, enough ramblings. Let's dive into this. So we'll shuffle the cards. Take the top. I think I just got that combination. So 1 book and 1 burst. So this combination I'm pretty sure you can't make. So we have to get 4 books, 1 shield, and 1 burst. So the only way to get 4 books so this combination here is 1 burst, 2 shields, 4 books. So you're going to take 1 damage because you're going to have 1 extra shield. And there's no way to actually get 4 books without getting 2 shields. If you're thinking about the teal dice favor shields, which means I can't. In order to get a book from a teal die, I have to get a shield. So this combination is guaranteed we're going to take damage. We can't avoid it. Like I said, it's frustrating. And apparently it's intentional as far as I know. So we're going to go ahead and just roll the dice, and we have to take 2 each now because of how the rules of the witch works. So all I can really do right now is try to mitigate the damage as best as possible. So if I were to take everything here, I would take a lot of damage. So yeah, that's not an option. We're going to take the 5 and the 4. Actually, we'll take the 7. Here we will take the 6. No, don't take the 6. Sure, we'll take both 6s. That's what we'll do. Here we will take the 8, the 7, none of these are good. I think I'm going to go ahead and just take them all. We'll just see what happens. Then this one, take that, and then we're just going to take what comes next. All right. So with that, we have to take the last 2. There's no options there. At least the rounds are going to go quicker. All right. So 4 books, 1 burst. We're missing a book, so we're going to take 1 damage from that, and we have 3 extra shields, so that's going to be a total of 4 damage. This here is we're missing 1 book, 1 burst, so that's 2 damage there, and we have 2 extra shields, so that's 4 damage. This here is 4 books, 4 shields, so we have 3 extra shields and a burst we're missing, so we're going to take 4 damage. And then here we're going to take 1 damage from a missing book. We have an extra burst, so that's another damage, so we're to 2. And then we have 3 extra shields, so that's 5 damage. Alright, well that's round 1. Let's go ahead and dive into the next one. Alright, this one, wow. Alright, so this one is 2 shields, 5 books. Or sorry, 3 shields, 5 books, and 1 burst. I've never actually gotten a bow before, so this will be interesting. 1, 2. Actually, we can do this. Alright, and then here we can do that, I guess. Okay. Alright, and then of course we have to take the other 2. And we'll see what the damage is. Alright, we're looking what? We're looking for 5 books. We have 5 books. We have 1 extra shield and 1 extra burst, so we take 2 damage. Alright, and then here we're missing 2 shields and a burst, so we take 3 damage. Here we're missing 2 books, and that's it. And then here we are missing 4 books, putting us at 1. Alright, well, we're already on the verge of being eliminated, so that's good. 2 books and a burst, so now we need 3 books, or sorry, 2 shields and a burst. So we need 3 books, 3 books, 3 shields, 1 burst. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and take the damage and do that. This here, I will also do the same thing. Spend 2 fate so I can grab them all. Then this one, I'm going to grab these 2, and we'll see what happens. And then here, I have to get perfect, so I'm just going to grab these 2, and we'll see what happens. More likely we'll get eliminated. Alright, just these 2 roll. Alright. I think I got a perfect for once, but this one's probably not a perfect. Oh, actually. So just to make sure, 3 books, 3 shields, 1 burst. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Oh, I was 1 book short. So that's eliminated. 3 books, 3 shields, 1 burst. You get 1 health back. You are going to take 1 damage because you're missing a burst. And you there are going to take 1 damage because you have an extra burst. Alright, so that's our 3rd card. Now we have a pistol. It's going to be 3 books, 2 shields, 1 burst. Only 3 characters left. And they still have to go through this card and the next card to actually get anything out of this. So we'll see how it goes. Let's do these 2, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, and then this one is... what was it? We'll grab that one. And that one. That one. And that one. Alright, let's see what we get. Okay, let's see what the results are. 3 books, 2 shields, missing a burst, so take 1 damage. 3 shields, 4 books, that's going to be eliminated. So I'm missing a burst, that's 1 damage. I have an extra shield, that's another. And then, of course, I had an extra book as well. And then this one here is, I'm missing a book, missing 2 shields, and a burst, so I take 4 damage. So I have 1 health left on them. Alright, last card. So this is another 3, 3, and 1. We'll see what we get. Alright. We'll grab these 2 and see what happens. grab this and this, and we'll see what happens. Alright. Just one book short, or one shield short, sorry, so that one's eliminated. And then this one's going to take a lot more than 2 damage, so I get nothing. Alright, well that was what I expected. So yeah, like I said, I mean, it's not the fact that I lost, that's, like, just to be clear, it's not the fact that I lost Abraxis. I mean, this was free, like, this particular encounter was free, it didn't cost us any money to do, so that in itself is not a big deal. It's just, I don't particularly enjoy the gameplay loop, because there's very little you do. If I wanted to play a game where it's all about mitigating bad luck and RNG, I mean, Blood Bowl gives me a lot more control than this. But in any case, that is it. So yeah, if you happen to somehow get a perfect run on this, you can actually get a hidden card, which is a bit unfortunate because I have never gotten I've come close to getting a perfect run on some of these cards, not on 3 Witches. I've only gotten 3 Adventurers once, and most of the time I usually get 1 or 2, and sometimes 0. Anyway, that is it for Abraxis. I'm going to go ahead and dive briefly into the next side quest and get that taken care of. Yeah. And just read that up. So 305. There is also another one side quest, but we do not have the requirements for it because we've been doing so well. Alright, side quest, Lakshmi, the Gatekeeper. What do you think she's doing? Remy asked, pointing. Rook had been watching for several minutes as the Anointed gave Lakshmi a place in the camp. That wasn't so strange. Traveling merchants were always valuable assets, particularly as far from a civilization as they were. Even so, Rook had never seen a merchant who acted quite like she did. The Gatekeeper set out her wares on a few old tables, and each item had a little key beside it. Whenever she sold something, she would walk away with the key and bury it in the dirt. Whenever someone sold her something, she would select a key at random from her bag and set it beside the item. Rook spent several minutes watching, trying to determine a pattern, but coming up with no simple answers. He rose to his feet, then made his way across the camp toward the Gatekeeper and her makeshift shop stall. Remy joined him, following his eyes and grinning up at him. You want to buy something? No, Rook answered. I just want to understand her better. We fought gatekeepers in the ruins, and they were willing to die to stop us, but this one collects supplies and plants keys. Why? Remy shrugged. Does it matter? She's willing to sell, and she hasn't tried to kill us yet. That's all I need to know. Rook and Remy stepped up beside the table. The gatekeeper was busy in back, covering the key of a recent sale with fresh dirt. Eventually she rose and made her way over. She said nothing at first, but a grin spread wider and wider across her mouth. Rook was the first to break the silence. Did I give my name last time, Lakshmi? The gatekeeper shook her head. Most humans never bother, she said. You don't see me as one of you, so you don't make much of an effort to communicate beyond what's needed to exchange goods. Rook, he said. My name's Rook. This is Remy, one of my friends. I'll introduce the others if they come over. I don't know about the other people who trade with you, but we're grateful. Oh, Lakshmi extended all 4 hands toward Rook, as though expecting to shake. Nice to meet you both. Rook and Remy each took a random hand and shook it awkwardly. Rook couldn't wait any longer. His curiosity was too much. What's with the keys? He asked, pointing at the row of adventuring supplies sorted neatly on the table. I've never seen a merchant keep inventory like you do. The gatekeeper smiled wider. I don't need the keys to remember what I have for sale. I assigned them to help me find the key that opens the door to my destiny. Rook cleared his throat. What does that mean? The gatekeeper looked up at him with sympathy, as though unsure how anyone could not know. Everyone has a destiny. Along the way, we come upon decisions we need to make, forks in the road. Whenever that happens, there's only one door that leads the right way. What happens if it's locked? If you don't have the right key, you won't be able to take the path. You'll end up wandering, unfulfilled forever, because you were destined for a greatness you never found. I guess that makes sense, Remy said quietly. I just never thought of a metaphor meaning literal doors before. I've been looking for mine for a long time, Lakshmi said. I don't know where it is or when I'll find it, but one day I'm going to reach a door, and I'll have the key because I've been saving it. So they're real keys, but they might not be real doors? Remy was suddenly unsure. Close enough, Lakshmi said. Her tone was simple, as if there was no other way to explain it herself. I don't actually know what it'll be like when I find it, since I haven't yet. Until I do, I must keep trading with adventurers like you. It is the best chance I have to find the right key. The gatekeeper looked away, her expression failing. I may have already lost the key I needed, thanks to this swamp. Most creatures leave us alone, but the carrion swamps. The monsters here have no respect. One of those monstrous tree creatures attacked me. I didn't get to plant one of my keys. She sighed deeply. Then he gets the counter. I'll never know if that was the one I needed. Rook felt Remy's hand on his shoulder as she met his eyes with a meaningful look. Rook sighed, knowing what she was thinking. What if someone got it for you? Remy asked. The gatekeeper grinned at her with the same too-wide smile. I'd be grateful. Rook tried to talk her out of it, but once Remy explained the situation to Nightingale, his objections fell on deaf ears. Even Justice was on board, which meant that Zeke suddenly wanted to come too. We don't really have time for this, Rook said, as they made their way back out of Gehenna into the swamps. After spending so long in a camp, Rook had almost forgotten just how awful carrion swamps could be. The trees bowed over the path, blocking out most of the light. The ground shifted beneath them, and there was constant clouds of biting insects. She said it was close. Plus, it's just a tree. It can't be that hard to fight a tree, can it? Damocles, Justice, and Zeke all shared a collective groan. Damocles gave Remy a flat stare. It's more than you think. He stopped pointing through the trees. Remy followed his gesture, squinting through the underbrush. Rook looked as well, and he could see a tree moving there, swaying in the opposite direction of the wind. Growing destiny. All right. Let's see if the recent version of this actually fixed this. Originally, two of the tiles were incorrect. Two of the tiles were oriented incorrectly originally. Let's see. It's looking good, actually. Yep, looks like it's all correct. I guess some other things to point out as far as updates are concerned for the module itself. They added these glow highlights around the around objectives and totems now, and you can actually see them through like figures and stuff. So that could make it a little bit easier to spot these things, which is kind of neat. In any case, let's go ahead and read up. The massive tree sits at the center of the swamps. Its roots writhe and slide across the swamp floor in all directions. On the far end of the swamp, you see two gatekeepers, likely looking to steal the same prize you're after. Alright. The objective is we have to defeat the grotesque effigy. Lose condition is if we get defeated or if a gatekeeper defeats a grotesque effigy. And this special encounter rules, rival collectors. The gatekeepers treat all other figures as opponents and are treated as opponents by all the figures. Their puppets ignore roots, because obviously they can't hurt them. Enemy of my enemy, gatekeepers count as allies for the purposes of flanking the grotesque effigy. And then lowest in the swamp, the lowest count as allies for the purpose of flanking the grotesque effigy. So, also something else to note is this was confirmed in the errata. The lows are also essentially a free-for-all. All the monsters are against each other, essentially, for the most part. Now, one thing to note is this is a map that has no water, and water loas do not voluntarily leave water. But since they're already out of water, I'm assuming they can move normally until they get themselves back in water. So that's the way I'll be playing it for right now. Alright, with all that said and done, all we have to do is add... Oh, I guess one thing to note, the new layout does have this as set up as a hand. So that's why it's kind of set up, the initiative is a little bit different. This does mean I have to have hands active, else the initiative track does not work anymore. The reason why it's set up with a hand is to give it infinite room, because obviously if you have Elephid, the twins, both undead spirits, and then a bunch of enemies, you'll quickly fill the board up. But we'll save that for another time. I am the Depressed Eeyore. This was Middara on Tabletop Simulator. I'll see you guys next time.